Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it is 13:54, so soon enough it will be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And yet again I woke up at like 12. I don't know why I'm keep doing this to myself. I guess I just like to torture myself. Not that I get like enough sleep, that's of course a good thing, but the thing that I'm going to sleep so late at night, at like 3 a.m. every single night, just because we don't have the 8:45 classes right now. I know that I criticized it before and I was like, why do you have these classes so early? But now I kind of understand why, because otherwise your sleeping pattern gets so out of whack. At least mine, that since I don't have anything I need to do. And as a regular young adult, series and movies are attractive that late at night. Anyway, not only do I get ego boost from this little vlog series too, and that is segueing into something happening yesterday, but in school yesterday, it was the best. I know that I said that I'm learning to listen to myself and learning to listen to my own English, and that's how I like try to improve it at least. As I said, how to pronunciate, how to do all of that, or to articulate. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. But yesterday, someone asked me after our presentation in enterprise and leadership, like, have you ever spent any time in a English speaking country? And I was like, yes, I've been on vacation. And he was like, but you haven't lived in a English speaking country for an extended amount of time or an extended period of time. And I was like, no, I have not. And he was like, dude, you're really good at English. And I was like, oh, no way, you really think so? Nice. And then I had to explain to him that, well, in Sweden we don't dub anything. Every movie that's supposed to be in English is in English. We don't translate it to Swedish, and that most of the media and stuff and news and stuff that I consume is in English, and I don't have subtitles on it. Why? Don't know. I just like English, and I think that since I am an international student, that might be that I'm more inclined to actually speak and practice English, and we're, studying in English in my university. But then it just kept rolling with the compliments. It was that one guy at the gym told me I was having a good form, a good structure when I was doing my exercises, and then it was something else too, which I don't remember. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about leadership in HR and team management. And one in my group, I've been moved to a new group, told me that, well, if we're going to talk about leadership, then you are the perfect example. And I was like, really? Me? I mean, I like to think that I'm a bit of a naturally inclined leader, so to say. No problem with that, but that someone else actually recognized that during these 2 months when I haven't had a designated leadership role is amazing. And if there's one person who says it, then there are more people who probably thinks it. So I'm just like, yes, I'm getting my message across who I am. Anyway, what I would like to talk about today is more papers. Yes, that is correct, because we have done yet another personality test in school, and it is called Diagnosis of the Sales Situations. And I love doing these because the more personal tests I do, the more I understand. Oh well, that's not at all what it's called. That's the diagnosis. Of course, when I say diagnosis, it should be the diagnosis. Anyway, and I'm sorry if the papers are scraping the microphone in the computer. I don't really know where it is at the moment, so terribly sorry if that's the case. Just be aware of the volume. No, it's actually called behavioral test in a sales situation. And as I was going to say, I love doing these because the more I am doing personal tests, the more I can understand what my answers are. What should I say? What my answers tells about me. And I know that's what they're supposed to do, but still, not only to know that this is what they're supposed to do, but also identifying with the place in which I am put in. If that makes any sense. Is actually really rewarding, because anybody can say, oh, do these questions, and they will put you into a category, and I will be, oh, that's fine and dandy, but what if I don't agree with it? Then it has been a huge waste of time. And as I said before, these are all equally as good as the time and effort you put into them. And I really try to do my best here, even though we have a limited time when we're doing these in class, but still really trying to get the message across on what would I actually do in such a situation. So it's all good, all fine and dandy. Now, the way that this test is structured is that you get, well, let's see if I am correct here. You get about 22. Yes, you get 20. Oh yeah, that's because it's 110. So weird. The maximum you can get here is 110 points, or rather, the maximum amount of points you distribute. It's 110 and not 100, which I thought was like, why? Why not just skip 2 questions, make it 100? But you know, the more questions, the better the better the results will be. It will be more clear. Anyway, so you get 22 questions. You have either A or B to answer with, and you have to distribute 5 points over A and B on each question, and you can't use half points. So you can basically have 0, 5, 1, 4, 2, 3, 3, 2, 4, 1, 5, 0 as the distribution between the different ones. You can't have, for instance, 2.5 and 2.5 because that would neglect the entire point of the experiment or the behavioral test. Now, this is designed to tell you if you are projective or have empathy when it comes to doing sales. And just to explain this briefly, projection is that you project exclusively centered on yourself. I can actually just read the definition. If you get 110 to 89% points on projection, this is what you get. Sorry. You are a pure projective, exclusively centered on yourself. You are capable of great persuasion if your client doesn't put your outside before. Your greatest quality is your capacity to close and overcome barrier. You are a born hunter, made for the hard sell. Sales is only combat. And projection is basically that I, as a person, am telling you what I think what you should do. Not what you should do, but like, if I'm coming in with a sell, you're there, I'm there, I'm really trying to get my point come across. And every salesman tries to do this, but the one who is inclined towards projection have a more, a more natural inclination to actually do this. They do this just because of their behavior. They're very straightforward, they're very clear, they're very assertive in their way. And then we have empathy, and I'm gonna read, if you have a lot of empathy, you know, the other side of the spectrum, so to say. I wasn't quite there, I was on the second most level of empathy, but I will read the most level of empathy. You are a person with pure empathy. You put yourself so much in the place of the other that you lose your personality. Remember that your clients expect you to convince them, so you need to influence them. Either you are so little concerned by your clients that you make no effort to persuade them, or you carry all the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are a prototype of the Lord, so much so that they are loyal to you. But for real loyalty, you must be respected. And this is basically, you know, the base of empathy, that you can put yourself into someone else's situation. Some people intertwine sympathy and empathy. And this is empathy, just to be clear. I don't know if I said it wrong before. It is empathy we're talking about. And empathy is basically being able to understand how someone is feeling. And sympathy is then to sympathize with that feeling. So you will, for instance, if someone is really sad, empathy is that you understand that they're sad. Sympathy is that you feel sad because they're sad. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I would say I have low sympathy but a high empathy, which is, you know, debatably not great. That's how the serial killers start out. Anyway, now I got 43 to 22 points on projection, which is the kind of the lower one, and empathy I got 67 to 88 in that range, and I actually got my total was 36 on projection and 74 on empathy, so I was quite high on empathy. Now, what they categorized me as was, above all, you try to understand your client and to show them your understanding. You are less comfortable in situations of conflict where it is necessary to force the decision. Practice some questions to close the sale to help you for the moment when you have to be more projective. And the thing that pissed me off most about this was that this is what I actually feel is my shortcoming in sales that I can't seem to close the deal. The projection at the end forced the decision at the end. I have a really hard time doing that, and it was something that I thought going into this course that I was going to be really good at, because since I'm a shaper and in the other course, and I am very straightforward with my own opinions, and I don't care if I hurt people's feelings. I thought I was only going to be naturally inclined to be projective as well. But I actually totally understand the feedback and the shortcomings presented in the category in which I am being placed. Now, I know that some people will be like, oh, if I read something, just like horoscopes and stuff, in my opinion, you can have your own opinion about horoscopes, but my opinion is that they are writing something general that everybody can relate to. So when they read about their own, they can feel like, oh, this is actually me. But no matter which, you could have changed the descriptions of all of them, and they would still make sense to you because it's so general. So everybody is like feeling and touching can interpret it as a way that can interpret it in a way that fits them. And I think that this might be the same thing in a way, but I really felt like this problem with closing a deal in the end is something I'm having a real big problem with, because we've done many sales exercises, and I'm coming up with all these arguments. I know how the person is going to respond, and then we're coming to the end, and I just can't seem to finish the sale. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be. I think that one of the problems is that I might think that I will be too much straightforward, and so I am hedging all of the time. The double hedging I was talking about, but I'm like triple hedging, because I know that naturally I would like to just be, this is my opinion, but it becomes that I'm actually being like, I can't really say what I'm thinking because that might come across as rude. So when I'm negotiating, I might be thinking more about being nice, and that might be that, or rather the that might be the case, that I'm coming across as not projective enough. So I love this. I strongly recommend it. As I said, do behavioral tests. It's all good. It's all fun. And that was all I have time for today, mates. So till next time, guys. See ya. Bye.